social worker and therapist, addictions and trauma specialist, and today I want to talk about anxiety and getting through anxiety and easing anxiety. First, just want to let you know I am a social worker or a therapist in Illinois and Indiana, and you can Google Richard Rogers, MSW, LCSW, Indiana, Illinois, and you should be able to find me pop up, and you can set an appointment with me. Today I want to talk about anxiety, okay? What is anxiety? Anxiety is a clinical term for fear. A feeling of fear, dread, or uneasy. So you're probably feeling anxiety when it has to do in the future, because you're feeling fear. You can't fear what's already happened. You're fearing that it'll happen again. You're dreading the future, and it makes you feel uneasy. You're uneasy because you're afraid something bad's going to happen. So your fight or flight was kicked on, and now you can't turn it off, and you're trying to sleep, and the words in your head just keep going and flapping, and they're getting louder and louder, and you can't sleep, and you can't go the day without getting all wrapped up in anxiety, wrapped up in these thoughts and these worries, and something bad's going to happen. Something definitely is going to happen. So how do we get through anxiety? Well, there's a couple things we need to start doing when we're having anxiety. First of all, we got to realize that the anxiety is a problem because it's unmanageable. Why is it unmanageable? Because my thoughts are intense. So I think intense thoughts, the anxiety is going to be intense. And oftentimes I'm having these thoughts, I might not even realize it, they're in the back of my head. Their beliefs, their core beliefs is what they call them. Alright, and we're going into CBT realm, cognitive behavioral therapy realm, if you've ever had any experience in that. So I need to make them less intense. That means I need to check on my thoughts and see if they are too intense, if they're over-exaggerated, because they're too intense if they're over-exaggerated. Okay, so let's check out my thoughts. This is an example I like to use. Walk out to my car, bird poop on my car. What the hell? Okay, that sucks. Go get it washed, move on with life. And I park in the same spot a couple times, and most of the time I park there, bird poop comes onto my car. And so I come out one last time, see bird poop on my car. Now I'm really angry. It's happening again. It's like I'm having this war with this bird. And in the back of my head, I might realize this sounds ridiculous, but the anger, the fight or flight, the fight, is clinging on, making sure that you don't lose that, because your fight or flight thinks that you need to protect yourself, that you're unsafe, something bad's going to happen. Even though nothing bad's going to happen, you don't need to protect yourself from bird poop. But you got that anger and you have nowhere to go with it, so you're just having a bad day. You jump in the car, you cut people off in traffic, you don't even know why you're angry anymore. You're flipping off the guy next to you, or the guy, and somebody cuts you off and you're chasing them down. Then you go home and you yell at your kids and you yell at your wife, and things just got out of control all because these birds pooped on your car. Okay, well, how about I take a step back and check and see if that's extreme? What is the thought going on here? These birds are always pooping on my GD 1972 Impala. I don't know. I don't know much about cars. I'm just love this Impala. It's my favorite Impala, and I love it, and I don't want birds pooping on it. Okay, so let's take a step back. What's the evidence that they're always pooping on it? Is there an endless line of birds pooping on it? No, because always means it's always happened. It doesn't stop happening. It just always, So you've been able to get out of there without the bird pooping on it before. It's not all the time the bird's pooping on it. A lot of the time, some of the time, even most of the time, is better phrasing than all the time, because when I say all, it's intense. If I say most, it's not as intense. I can deal with that. Although I might need to bring that down to some, because maybe I'm still over-exaggerating by saying most, and maybe it isn't most. Alright, so that's not happening all the time. And the fact of the matter is, I parked in that spot, I know birds poop in that spot, and I keep parking in that spot. I'm looking at the facts now. What are the facts? Birds poop in that spot. Nobody else in this lot has bird poop on their car, but that spot has bird poop. My rational thought is thinking, these birds are trying to poop on my car, but the rational thought is birds don't really have, they're probably not intending to poop on your car. They're probably not that smart to get revenge on you for something. Did you do something to really upset birds? No? Okay, then you're good. So now I take those ramblings I just went over and I look at the facts and I come up with a more rational thought. And it's not all good, it's not all bad. It's just more rational. Even though birds have pooped on my car several times, I can move my car to a different spot if I don't want birds pooping on my car. That's a more rational thought than these damn birds are always shitting on my car. That's a more rational thought than these birds are out to get me. The idea that, yes, birds are pooping on my car, but I can move it. It's more rational. I might not agree with it. I might not like it, but the emotions isn't as intense. Make sense? So we make our emotions less intense by challenging extreme core beliefs and extreme thoughts. Oftentimes, these extreme thoughts are backed up by core beliefs, and the core beliefs is like an overarching, this is what really is driving my behavior. This is what really is driving my thoughts and my emotions. Everybody is out to get me. I'm having the irrational core belief that everything is out to get me. So if I think everything is out to get me, or the world hates me, or the world's after me, then every time I think about something, I'm going to think that singular thing hates me or is after me. So of course I'm going to be paranoid and think the birds are after me. If I think the whole world above that core belief, that's based off the core belief that everything is out to get me. This world hates me. So I made that emotion less intense by making the thought less intense, by allowing that core belief to control me. So now that my emotions are less intense, which we do want to challenge that core belief, but I'll let you do that. Now that these emotions are less intense, now I can manage the emotion. I'm a big fan of mindfulness. When my thoughts are going in the past or future, which happens, I like the thought diffuse, so acceptance and commitment therapy. Thought diffusion. Learn to separate my thoughts from myself, from the core me, and watch the thoughts go by, and just be aware of them, and bring my attention to the present moment, and take any thought that's useful and let every other thought go. And just focus on the present moment, non-judgmentally, because we judge the moment. Oh, this would be better if I could make more money, if my house was bigger, if blah, blah, blah. I'm such a loser, blah, blah, blah. See, I'm getting into judgments about the present moment, and again, they might not be rational. So let those thoughts go, because quite honestly, I could sit there and write down every thought and challenge every thought, just like we just did with our core belief. But sometimes you just want to chill and just let the thought go. Especially if it's less intense. So we get present, and maybe we do some breathing exercises. Because my emotions are more rational, I can more focus on those. breathing gets blood into air into the blood and into the brain and gets you calm. Maybe I just distract myself for a little bit. Take a little, and this is getting into distress tolerance, but take a little break from it. Watch something funny. Watch my favorite YouTube video. I love that. I like Turtles, Zombie Kid. That's my favorite ever, and it's been like 16 years, and I'm getting old. But focus on the present moment and do something that you can distract yourself from for a little bit. Not to say don't go back to the problem, because you still need to fix the problem, or you still need to accept the problem and acknowledge the problem. But, I tell people maybe get like a first aid kit, mental health first aid kit, in a shoebox, fill it with scratch and sniff stickers, and whatever you like. Maybe you put like brownie baking batter in there, and powder or something, and crayons, and Hershey's Kisses, and stress ball, gel blaster, whatever you use. Distract yourself for a little bit. Put it there. You have a central place. If that's not working, move on to the next one. Move on to some crossword puzzles. Whatever. But distract yourself from it for a while. But continue working on the mindfulness. During the day when you're at work, you're half up in your head, you're half there. It's definitely distracting you from work. You need to be fully there. And spend 10 minutes a day worrying. If you're worrying, how about we take 10 minutes a day and just worry and be okay with the worry. Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and we will be right back. Okay, so what's next? What do I do with my anxiety now? Change my thinking? Looked at a different perspective. The old perspective keeps wanting to scratch away. I've learned to unglue from the thought and watch it, but it keeps wanting to glue on. Well, a lot of people give up. A lot of people give up when it's not working right away and go back to drinking or drugs or whatever it is that makes them feel comfortable. This is where it gets challenging, because I talk about continuing processing your week with your therapist, with the group, with whatever, with your wife or husband. But this is where it gets uncomfortable, because, and I do have a podcast episode about acceptance, but part of it is accepting that you're going to feel bad for a while. You're not going to feel the best for a while. Some days will get easier. Some days will be hard. And first of all, we have to acknowledge our goal is not to get rid of anxiety, get rid of depression, get rid of whatever. Our cravings, I'm trying to think of something, but our goal is not to get rid of anything, but to make it less intense, manageable, and for us to learn to live with it. If I accept my trauma and my guilt and feel better about living with it, that's great. But I also have to accept the fact that I might not, or that some days I will feel good about it, and some days I will not. So, it's a process. And I heard this commercial the other day. I think maybe it was a commercial or maybe it was a movie where this woman was talking about her child overdosing, and she said, it's not a process. Grief is something you live with the rest of your life. Yes, absolutely. But I think it's a process to dealing with the grief better than you used to. I think there's a process there. Grieving, you may never not miss that person or that thing or your marriage or whatever you're grieving, or alcohol or drugs, whatever you're grieving, whatever you've gotten, whatever's out of your life. You may always grieve it. You may always not like it, but I can let go of my grasp of trying to control it. And I think there's also the anxiety of, if I let go of control of it, if I let go of it, then I'm losing something. And so that's where we got to get back on our CBT hats, and it works hand in hand with all these other aspects. I need to ask myself, is it worth the stress of holding on to it compared to letting it go? Usually it's not worth the stress of holding on to something that you're never going to attain. So I start being okay with letting it go. And when I can let it go, I become, and a relief lifts off of me. And some days, again, you will feel it. Some days you'll be okay. The biggest thing is, I think people are looking for ways to not be traumatized and not feel these negative thoughts, but you got more negative thoughts than thoughts you like. So you can't avoid negative thoughts. You can't avoid anxiety. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen at some point if you care about something. If you have children and you care about your children, you're going to have anxiety. If you care about something, you're going to have anxiety about it. So that's why I talk about, it's not about getting rid of anxiety, because that's what alcoholism is. That's what drug addiction is. Getting rid of it. You're not going to get rid of it. Stop trying to get rid of it. Start being okay with it. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Start moving towards the discomfort like successful people do. Because successful people always challenge themselves. That's what separates the successful from the unacceptable. The successful from the unsuccessful. And you want to be the successful one, or else you wouldn't be listening to this, or else you wouldn't came to my session, or else you wouldn't be Googling how to be happy, how to get rid of anxiety. You want to be successful. You want to be successful in overcoming your anxiety. And sometimes you have anxiety because of fear of taking actions that might bring you success, because running towards discomfort and success does leave you open to rejection. So you got to be okay with the rejection. Don't try to prevent the rejection. Prepare to be rejected and accept it. And if you can be okay accepting a rejection, you're going to be more likely able to face your fear and reach your goals, or at least move towards your goals. And the more times you fail, the better opportunity you have to get good at what you are trying to attain. You know, I went through several interviews before I got a therapy job. I was anxious. It took me a lot of getting a job, practicing interviewing until I was good at it, because that's why I wasn't getting a job. It's because I couldn't interview well. It took a lot of practice to get a job, and it took a lot of jobs to be able to work independently, because I had to get that experience. Anyways, again, check out my website. Check out my Facebook and Twitter, and Richard Rogers, MSWLCSW. Thanks for watching. Have a good